Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stuart. I work here at Charity Digital as a client account specialist. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar, Tips on Making Your Brand Memorable to Increase Donations. I hope you've all enjoyed Digital Transformation Week so far. If you have not done so yet, you can check out all of the content from this week via the Digital Transformation Hub. We are all surrounded by and recognize brands, either consciously or subconsciously, every day. Be that the night tick, the shape of a Coke bottle, or even the act of slapping your butt and proclaiming that's as the price. But can the same be said for charity brands? Very few examples spring to mind. We have Red Nose Days, Red Noses, and Pudsy's Ears and Eye Patch. Are there any others that you can think of? If you can, please pop them in the chat. 50% of donors state the number one reason that they do not remember the name of the charity they gave to is lack of brand recognition. If they don't remember who we are, how can we hope to keep them coming back? I will be shortly joined by Amma Ofari Darko, fundraising manager for the Royal Opera House. Amma will share their ideas on how to align your brand identity with your online fundraising, discuss practical tips on how fundraisers can create lines of communications with their marketing counterparts and feel confident to give their input. By the end of the webinar, you will have a framework to plan your next fundraising campaign with marketing in mind, inspiration and ideas on how to sync fundraising with brand identity, and the tools to share your knowledge of the brand from a fundraising perspective with marketing teams. Now, before I hand over to Amma, just a few house rules. We have closed captioning available. Just hit the CC button on screen. If you need a hand with this, please say so in the chat and our amazing back of house team will help you out. Talking of the chat, let's get that going. Feel free to share your stories, opinions, and experiences. We are all here to learn from each other. There will be time for a question and answer session at the end of Amma's presentation. Please use the Q&A function to submit your questions, and we'll get through as many of those as we can at the end. Well, that's probably enough for me for now. I'm going to hand you over to Amma, and I'll see you all again in a bit for the Q&A. Hi, Amma. Welcome.
Hello everyone. So I am Amma Ofari Darko. Thank you very much for the lovely intro, Stuart. And I'll be with you for about the next, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So I am fundraising manager at the Royal Opera House. I work in the fundraising team within development, focusing on campaigns and appeals. And so today, talking about tips on making your brand memorable to increase donations. Due to the pandemic, many organizations have to take a closer look at their digital fundraising due to not having a physical space or being able to use what they usually would use to fundraise. That then brought forward the inevitable growth of digital fundraising almost immediately. But then it meant that organizations had to rely on just their websites and take a deeper look at what their online visitor journeys and their online branding actually involved. With staff on furlough and so much uncertainty, it was amazing to see how organizations banded together in different ways than before. And as we are stepping back into buildings and in-person events, we do not want to forget how important our online presence is and the way that we work together as organizations. Over the pandemic, I personally worked at 3 different organizations, and with each different role and different organization, I felt a real growth in the communication between marketing and fundraising. Obviously, it was at the beginning, it was very different. You were reacting a lot to what was happening. But hopefully, with time and with planning, we will be able to get into a more seamless working together of fundraising and marketing.
Hi, Amma.
Oh, no,
can I ask you to move your mic, please?
Here we go. Sorry.
No
Hello,
worries.
everyone.
Excellent. That's better. Thank you.
Sorry, it's all about my hair. Sorry. Hopefully, you can hear me much better now. And yes, if you have any questions, I will try and answer them while I'm talking. Or we will have a Q&A section at the end as well. So again, if you didn't hear, I am Amma, fundraising manager at the Royal Opera House, working in the fundraising team within development, focusing on campaigns and appeals. So as Stuart said, 50% of donors cited a lack of brand visibility as the #1 reason they couldn't remember the name of the charity they gave to. Now, this may tie in with how many different charities a person actually gives to. But if your brand identity is strong and they connect with why they gave to you, they should hopefully remember. They might not remember, maybe they won't remember your name, but they'll remember why and what was it that they gave to. At the Royal Opera House, people currently donate through online donations from our direct mail pieces, through emails. Sometimes we have dedicated emails about fundraising campaign or members' newsletters. We have, signage inside and outside of the building, now using, trying to use QR codes, which also send people to our website. So then that's also encouraging online giving. And then we also have inside of our members magazines, and we are using more and more social media to ask for online donations with varying degrees of success. It's very interesting to try and look at what people also comment about donation asks online, and just trying to test different ways of asking, and then also looking at maybe paid social media. So then if donors don't remember who they're donating to, how can we keep them coming back? So you want your charity branding to be impactful and memorable. You want to stand out so that your audience feels compelled to donate and really identify with your cause. So this will directly impact your digital fundraising campaigns, because if people remember your brand, they're more likely to return and also spread the word about your cause. So sort of tying into social media, online giving, if people really connect with you, they want to share that, maybe share that they are fundraising for you, and trying to, share because it means a lot to them. When people are giving online, the website or the platform there is all that they have to truly understand your vision, your mission and your vision, and it must resonate with them. It should make sense what they're giving towards. It should make sense, the journey and the asks that are being given to them. It should also, when they're looking at your website, like the home page, they should be able to know you're a charity. And it should be easy from the first page to be able to be like, this is, if I want to donate straight away, here is where I go. Although many charities will have separate fundraisers and marketing, in reality, we really want to work together. It needs to be a very close relationship. However, it can be very difficult to establish a clear communication and goals that align across both your teams. So specifically at the Royal Opera House, obviously we both want to make money, but our marketing are trying to raise money, making money through selling tickets, and we're making money through fundraising. But it also means that because of that, we each have different perceptions of our audience and what they want. So because of how quickly a lot of places, took up digital fundraising, it really has highlighted the gaps online in what you can do online fundraising, how you're talking about your brand, how you're talking about yourself as a charity. But donors are feeling a lot more confident donating online. So we need to make sure that it's as easy as possible for them to do so, and so that they feel they can see seamlessly the journey they're going on, and how easy it is to donate online and then feel like they're part of a community, whether it's prompt thanking or following up if they have opted in to further fundraising messaging, and making sure that they do feel like their donation is being valued. Also, we want to test on social media and try and listen to what the comments are saying and learning from them. People are a lot more, if you're getting very reaction-led responses to sometimes your donation asks, and it is interesting to see if people know, obviously coming from a theatre, Royal Opera House, if people know you're a theatre, if people know that you're a charity tour even, and what does that mean to the people who are looking at your social media, what they're seeing, what they know, and why are you asking? Do people actually understand that? And then that will hopefully result in repeat donations rather than just one-off donations, and people just forgetting the brand identity and forgetting why in that moment they wanted to donate. You want to be able to give them something that they're like, oh, I remember why I gave, and I'd love to see if I can give repeatedly. So in this webinar, we'll be discussing practical tips on how fundraisers can create lines of communication with their marketing counterparts and feel confident to give their inputs, a framework to plan your next fundraising campaign with marketing in mind, ideas on how to sync fundraising with your brand identity, and also how to share your knowledge of the brand from a fundraising perspective with marketing teams. Oh, sorry. Okay. So tips on how fundraisers can create lines of communication with their marketing counterparts and feel confident to give their input. So I really believe in finding the time to get to know your marketing team. You know, if you already work together, reintroduce yourself and really speak about what it is that you do and how your teams already work together or maybe don't work together. Because I feel like even though everyone, you know, works for the same organization, sometimes you are losing, you don't have the time to discuss what you do, but you need to make it, because otherwise there are people that you need to go to speak to about something that you need help with marketing for, and then you spend a lot of time finding out who that is that you need to be with. I also find that if you have a new person working in your team, that is always a great moment to reintroduce yourself, introduce this new person and how they'll work together. As a fundraiser, you are very clear on who you're reaching out to with your ask, and so making sure that you try and include that with your marketing team when you are trying to ask them for advice in how you want to market an appeal or a campaign, and just making sure that you're using that same language so they understand what language is, and then if there is a way that they would prefer to use that online. Also speaking to your marketing team about what they're working towards, so that you can see if there are things that you can align together with. You know, if we have a fundraising draw and we know that marketing are going to be speaking a lot about that specific production, then we can try and see if we can have a, you know, sideways thing where we're joining together and going on that journey together, and then trying to figure out an effective form of communication that works for both teams. So if that's a bi-weekly meeting, or if it's an email chain or a spreadsheet, but trying to find a way that you're able to communicate all the time, and a way that you're both able to get what you want out of the situation, because obviously the teams can work very differently. So finding a way that you both work together is really simple. And so through that, creating a framework to plan your next fundraising campaign with marketing in mind. Now, once you've spoken to your team and you sort of have an idea of how you can communicate with each other, try and create an official process to indicate what it is that you need from marketing for your campaign and your deadlines. So that might be if you need images from them, if you need copy from them in a way that they feel comfortable putting that online, making sure that you have an actual formed process that you both can follow, and you're both like, okay, we're on this date, this is where we should be in this campaign together. Also, before you plan your upcoming fundraising, you can speak with your marketing to discuss that process. So taking, you know, when you plan, you know, your year or your next month or 2 months, finding a moment to be like, so marketing, this is what we want to do. Does this align with what your plans are? How can we fit in with your plans, or you fit in with ours? And so that they're involved from the get-go, and it doesn't feel like a last-minute ask if you need their help with images or a photo shoot or anything like that. You are working together. So how and who you would like to be seen online. Obviously, when you are sending out emails, you know who your list is going out to. Would you like to sort of cater to that list online if you're doing social media asks, or if you're trying to use Google Analytics to try and track who is seeing your links from different areas of your website or your emails. And then through that, you also want to collaborate on the brand message. The way you're speaking about your organization, does that align with how marketing is speaking about it? And can you sort of communicate with each other to make sure that you both are okay with how you're being spoken about and how the fundraising is being spoken about? So trying to make sure that in this spreadsheet or this official process, you're involving them in this sign-off so that they're not seeing things that are online that they don't feel aligned with the brand message. They feel that it also works with them. So then what is the best way for you to write out your needs from them? By collaborating together, you're able to, if it is a spreadsheet or if it's a Trello board, you're able to find out a way that you can work together. We have been working on a spreadsheet that has the task, what it is, the different campaigns that we have, the different, so if it's an email that we've got going out, if it's posters, if it's screens in the building, so that they can see every single aspect. And we might not need them for all of them, but they can see what we're working on. And so then if they have any ideas or if they have anything that they're doing, they're like, oh, actually, if we wanted to put in about fundraising on this video that we're going to be doing on YouTube, they already know what you have. And so that it's easier to have that conversation and get that working together, even though it's an extra thing that you weren't planning for. And so it's really about making that time together to have a moment to speak about what you're doing in the future, to speak about what you're doing now, so that if things aren't working, you're having that conversation at the start and it isn't just because something has gone wrong, but also so that you can plan when you can evaluate if the process is working and what you need to change to look forward. So then making sure that marketing are a part of your process really does allow them to have an insight to what you want to achieve and to be able to help you from the start. And discussing your fundraising plans, you can strategize with the marketing team very early on to ensure that all your comms are aligned. And if there are other departments that are talking about other things that also you could be a part of, because you're telling them in advance, they can also feed into other departments. It's not just about ensuring that there's a donate button on the marketing, but ensuring that your branding is synchronized. If it's about the images that you use or the fonts, you want to be able to make sure that on the website, it looks like you are all joined, even if you are, in control of the donation pages. If they're going through the website, everything is synced, everything looks good, the images look right, and people understand this is that you are part of this organization. I think sometimes as well, with how fast things move, you can add something just because you're waiting, just because you need that functionality, but then actually when people are using it, then they get confused as to what, if it is still part of the website. Obviously, there's lots of scams and things like that. And we had an issue with our Infuse page not being synced with what our Opera House page looked like. So when people were coming to donate, we had a few messages being like, I'm not sure that this is the Royal Opera House because I can't see your logo. The language is a little bit different, and realizing that there was a disconnect with the journey. So then making sure that it was aligned, so then it made sense and people were able to be like, oh, okay, this is the Opera House, it's just through a different channel. And so then you are able to speak about, then you're clear about how marketing speak about your brand identity, because you're having those conversations regularly and making sure that everywhere that you talk about your organization, as about the fundraising your organization does, marketing are able to see and be like, oh, we don't actually speak about this in that way. If you're going to Facebook, we would change it to speak like this. If you're going out, if it's just in an email, the way you do it is fine. But being able to that they're able to also see, and to also have another pair of eyes is never a bad thing. And so that you making sure that marketing are part of it, you're collaborating on the process together so that you have a plan, so that everything has a place and it makes sense what you are doing, what you are working towards, and how your marketing fit into that. and how fundraising fit into their plan, so that it doesn't feel last minute. It doesn't feel like you're just asking them when you need help, so that you both are on this journey together, because you both want to make money for your organization, and you want to be very clear about who you are, what you are, and why you do what you do. So how to sync fundraising with brand identity. Always think about your company mission. Is that explained within your fundraising? If someone is receiving an email from you, do they know why they're getting that email, who you are? Do you just think that because they're on a mailing list, they know who you are? If someone has signed up for something and they don't realize, making sure that that is explained within your fundraising, who you are and what you do. Think about what it is that makes you unique and keeps people supporting you, and to use that to attract your new supporters, and also to stay true to who you are as an organization and to why people are supporting you. I think also sharing, messages from people who do support you about why they support, because there could be so many different reasons. And so making sure that you are able to have a moment to look at those reasons and to highlight them, I think is always really important, and allows new people to be like, oh, okay, I understand why people feel so passionate about this organization. Working with marketing to create a seamless look, as I said earlier, throughout that digital space, so that you have a visual identity, so people know who you are and that they are following on this online journey with you. So that if you are sending an email, it also is sharing that brand. It's also sharing that journey in whatever it is that you're sending out or is online, with your fundraising ads, with your website. It all connects, and it wouldn't, if you looked at it all together, it wouldn't be jarring. It would make sense that it was all the whole organization. And also being personal, making sure that sharing your history as an organization and your journey, and making sure that on your fundraising page or donation page, it makes sense that where this money is going to and who it's going to, and if you want to find out more, giving the space to do that. So then how to share your knowledge of the brand from a fundraising perspective with marketing teams. Now, sometimes with job turnovers and people leaving, you automatically think that people know what you've done before. But taking the time when you are speaking about your fundraising campaigns and appeals to share how things have been fundraised for in the past. How have we spoken about different appeals? How have we spoken about campaigns? How do we speak about the people we fundraise for? Because that also ties in with what you have learned and what the brand needs now. What is your mission? Has it always been the same? And are you still aligning with that now? By also asking for feedback from your marketing team on your previous campaigns, because from a fundraising side, you're looking at how much it raised, who did it go out to, how many people responded, but they will be looking at, did that align with with our brand before? Did it actually make sense to be going out to people online? Did this on our website, did this also look how it looks in the email? And then you realize that there can sometimes be a disconnect, and realizing that if someone receives an email from you, and then they look on your website and it looks completely different, that wouldn't make any sense. It'd be like, oh, very confusing. So then trying to make sure that you have that everything is aligned and that it makes sense by looking back, so that when you look forward, you can work together with your marketing to make sure that it does make sense and everything is aligned in the future. And then discuss as fundraisers, what does your charity brand mean to you? Does that mean the coloring that you're using? Does it mean the personal touch? Does it mean what you're creating? And trying to make sure that has a moment in each of your fundraising campaigns, because it's very easy to think that people already know what we do, but making sure that you are reiterating that point. Obviously, you can tailor your emails to people who have emailed you before or given before. So making sure that you're recognizing that, so that people do feel like you are thanking them again for their giving, for their previous giving, but then also making sure that you are looking at the people who haven't given to you yet and trying to get into why not, by using what your brand is and what you are looking to do. And how does that present itself in your campaign? How else can you bring it through? Sometimes you need a marketing eye to be like, there isn't actually a thread of what it is that you're asking for. Sometimes as a fundraising, you are very much looking at the ask, you are looking at what it is that we need, but sometimes you need that marketing eye to sort of really give clarity so that every single asset that you're using is on the same line and seamlessly looking together and make sense. So then I wanted to just show our fundraising, our Donate Now page. So before the pandemic, we had just updated our website, and we hadn't really focused on our donations. We didn't have a moment that was Donate Now, you know, and having this large moment, and then as you can see, the join and support, that's where this page comes from. It just means that this is within the Opera House, this is with our brand, this is, you know, showing our auditorium, and it's asking right now to donate right now. And this was, you know, during the pandemic, talking about securing the future of ballet and opera and looking forward to what we are doing as an organization, and making sure that we, as an organization, this all makes sense within the context of our website and as a page where you can come to donate. It makes sense, it's easy to use, you know what you're doing. So then you can see here, so obviously we're talking about people that are back in the theatre, we're talking about sustaining future ballet opera, and also making sure that we're thanking people who have not given, they're coming and they're seeing what donations have done before, and people who have are able to see, this is what my donations has given in this one moment here. Obviously they would have been thanked individually, but being able to thank and show what has been given, where it has gone to, is really important for us as an organization. And then also making sure that the different ways in which you can donate and our different campaigns and appeals are on our webpage. Before, it was a bit harder to try and find all the different areas. So now it's in one page, so that if we have a new campaign that comes in, we can slot it in there, working with marketing about what's the best images to use, what will draw the eye, and just making sure, and it was, you know, making sure that it was easy to see and easy to draw people, because otherwise it's just, but by giving it a clear image, you know what you're looking at and you know where you're going. Sorry. So then in a sort of conclusion, the tips on making your brand memorable, you want to create a framework to plan your next fundraising campaign with marketing in mind. Being able to work with marketing, being able to have an actual in-depth conversation and have that time, because it is so important for your brand to be aligned with your marketing so that you both are on the same page. You may not be saying the same things, you may not be speaking to the same people, but being able to know what they're talking about and what you're talking about so that you can both speak about your message and go for that ask is really important. So having a regular moment to speak with them, having an area where you are, where everything you're doing together has a place. Otherwise, it can get very messy. That is the framework that you need. And then being able to speak with your marketing to be able to sync your fundraising with your brand identity. If it's just you're writing the copy and then they're making it look right, being able to know how you do that so that you don't always have to go to them, you're able to do that yourself if you have the time, but being able to constantly be checking in to just being like, does this look right to you? If you're looking at this with fresh eyes, what does this say? As someone who's not working in fundraising, to see how this looks, does it make sense? And then finding a regular way to communicate your knowledge of your brand from a fundraising perspective with your marketing teams, so that they can see that you know what the brand is and what you're talking about online and how you're sharing as an organization, so that it does, so that they feel confident in you and you feel confident in asking them if there is anything that you don't understand. And just, I think the main thing is really regularly communicating with your marketing team so that you do have a process to work together. It's very easy to just do things ad hoc, but you are working for the same mission. There is so much that you can do work together, and being able to have a time where you actually can just speak about what you need from them, what they may need from you, and setting that apart from other things, I think is a really important moment. I think I spoke really quickly, but that is my everything. And I think now we're going to go to questions. I don't know if we have questions. I can't see.
We certainly are. We do have a couple of questions there, Amma. Thank you very much. I've certainly got some takeaways from that. Communication being the biggest key takeaway for myself there. So the couple of questions that we have kind of tie into each other quite nicely. So the first one we have is, we are quite a small team and struggle getting everyone together to align. How would you recommend that we approach this?
Okay, so I would say maybe if you're not able to get everyone together, putting together what you need as a fundraising team, or if you are not able to connect with marketing, and maybe sending it in advance, or trying to get in, sending someone from your team into their team to speak with them. Because I think it's also very, it is really hard, because the first team I started in, we were a fundraising team of 3, and there was a marketing team of 2 that became 1. And so trying to find the time to, when they were busy doing everything, but then it's also about sharing skills, so that if they're able to teach you about what it is that they need you to do, so that you can do it, so then it's not like all on them, then being able to have to steal that little moment really will make more time in the long run. But I think, yeah, having an audit of what you think you need from them and trying to get it to them in a way that is easier for them. So then you can talk about it later, or find time in the future to talk about it. But it is, yeah, I think so important to get that moment and to get the sharing so that it becomes easier, because, yeah, time is always running out. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense though.
No, perfect sense. And actually the next question that we have feeds into this really, really nicely. Do you have any specific tools that you use to communicate between departments?
So we're working between a few different things, but the main thing at the moment that we're trying to just put everything in is a spreadsheet. And it's quite a mega spreadsheet, but it will cover the whole of, you know, the year that we're working towards. We then want to add in the year that we're looking forward to, but obviously that is about making time so that we can think about that when everything is going on. But that was a collaboration of a spreadsheet that we use as a fundraising team, and, you know, what targets we were running to and timelines, and how they were using, so that they could see what sort of assets that people needed for posters, the screens, for the website. And then it was combining the 2 of them. So then we each had things that we understood, and then spending a meeting, a long hour and a bit, just going through and how this makes sense to us, how this makes sense to them. And so now we have this giant suite that is a live document, so you can edit and you can make comments and things like that, but it means that we're all able to focus on them. And then obviously, you know, we're on SharePoint, so if you tag someone in there, they get an email that says someone needs your feedback or something like that. Obviously as well, there is emails, but they do
I was going to ask. I was going to ask if you use the shared drive or something to host that, so everyone has access. And that's made my question a little bit redundant there. Everyone, remember, there's still time to get your questions in if you do have anything to ask. The next one that we have is, would you suggest for any fundraising campaigns we start planning with marketing initially to see how it would be received by our audience?
Yes, I think that's something that we're trialing ourselves, and it's working really well, because also they have their own, you know, plan that they're going towards. And if, you know, there is for us, you know, a show going on, or They know they're going to be sharing, you know, we've got, I don't know, the Olivier's are coming or something is happening that we can align with as well. So then it means that from the beginning, we know what they're doing, they know what we're doing. And also it means that they can plan their time in terms of what they know will be a busy time that we will cause them. I don't think that's the right word, but like when we'll be needing a lot from them, they will already know and have planned it out, because obviously sometimes the issues happen when you realize, oh my God, I need all of this, when if obviously things like that happen all the time, but if you are able to plan, and usually you do know what campaigns you're going to be doing, when they're going to be on, who you're going to, so being able to talk to them about that, then it does make it so much easier to sort of look forward and be able to know that you will have their time because they've planned it and you're part of their timeline.
I suppose it's all about mitigating that last minute rush.
Yes, yeah.
So our next question, we are currently trying to do more work on our brand image as a charity. And one of the problems we've run into is aligning our brand across our social media channels with different fundraising options. Do you have any advice?
Oh, I'm always a big fan of a spreadsheet, just trying to look at, if you're saying this is our messaging, this is how we're making our ask, and then looking at the different ways. So with Facebook, it can be on your Facebook profile, or on Instagram you can have like a fundraising button on the profile, but then you can also do like a fundraising like live and things like that. So if you know sort of what your normal ask is, and then just trying to amend it for each thing. Obviously, yeah, it can be a bit hit and miss, but trying to lean into what each social media platform, what they do better than others, is sometimes useful. And also just like trying and error, because then you can be like, let's just try everything at the same, which works better, which people clicked more, and then trying to like take away from each different thing what you learn. I hope that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I'm following. So I hope everyone else is too. So next question is really interesting one. How to gently let people know that you aren't government funded, a government funded organization, but a charity, and that you need generous giving to stay afloat.
I would always lean with the fact that, well, I'd say you don't. I was going to say you don't need to be gentle about it.
I would agree.
It's a fact. You know, we don't have the government funding, so we need that regular giving, and to know that we have it, that we can plan for our future. And I think that's what you have to. You don't need to be gentle about it, because you know government funded organisations will still be like, we need your donations as well. And so you want to speak about, we don't have government organisations, but from the Your Kind giving, you are able to allow us to plan our future and able to do X, Y, and Z as a charity. So I think, lean into it to be like, we don't have something to fall back on. We need these regular giving and these future promised gifts to sort of keep us going. And I think, lean into it.
Definitely. No, I completely agree. Yeah. It's do you tongue-tied there. Do you prioritize the fundraising ask before or after your audience has interacted with one of your shows? When is the best time to ask in the whole user journey?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I guess online, we do have an ask that is in our basket. So if someone has purchased tickets, or I guess maybe, I don't know if it's booked in a restaurant, but purchase tickets, there'll be an ask there. I think having a presence on each of our pages is something that we're now trying to work on. So that having a sort of rolling banner of like what the fundraising appeal is at the moment, sort of find out more. I think, but the place where you're most getting in touch with people who maybe have not seen one of your shows is on social media. So trying to have something catchy and trying to make sure that I think, I don't know, we're working with TikTok is like the new thing. And I think it's quite exciting. I fully don't understand TikTok. I get sent to it and I'm like, I don't have this. But people are really engaging with that. And so it's going to be interesting tracking how people seeing these videos, and then how do they get to a journey to find out we are a charity and need their money. That is what we're working towards. But I think making sure that there is a donate presence on our main page is our main thing. And then through our social media, being able to making sure that it is known that we are a charity, we do fundraise, that's always always the main thing, trying to make sure that does have a presence. If it's when people have, joined a mailing list, obviously there are a fundraising, there will be like a fundraising opt-in, and you don't really, I feel like it's very rare you get someone who hasn't actually seen your show who will opt into that, because they probably, but the hope is that you do want them to know that you are a charity, but the opt-in isn't that often. But you're trying to make sure that is known in every aspect of what you do digitally, and trying to so making sure that people do understand who you are and what it is that you do. But it does always make sense when someone has purchased something, or they have clicked through and they're entering something or buying something. But yeah, trying to get that balance, because with a fundraising email, sometimes you would have the ask like, right, it'd be like, we are doing this appeal, we'd like to ask you to make a donation, and then you explain. But sometimes as well, that is tailored to people who have given before, and you do change it up to depending on the criteria that you set. So it's a bit hard. So you do want to be more explaining of yourself and who you are, why you're asking this. And then once you have, people who have given, then leaning into the fact they've given before, and explaining why you need it this time. I hope that felt tangenty.
What kind of frequency would you be looking at for contacting potential donors?
So we would, depending on the appeal, well, with the appeals, we would spread out the ask. We would probably, with a draw, it's more transactional because you're entering to try and win something. So then that's something like once a week, and trying to explain what it is that we're giving to, what the prize is, that sort of thing. With an appeal, so we had our point shoe appeal. And so that we had a bit more of a longer, we had about 2 weeks between sort of the emails that we were giving, because we were trying to as well share it on social media, and we were trying to get more images of what we were raising for. So then we had that sort of gap in between, that sort of, and then allow people to learn more. And so there's, when you get the spikes with each email of how much people give, we were still getting quite a bit because it wasn't too often. It didn't dip because those people gave straight away. But yeah, having that presence online so that people have somewhere to go to. But then when you are giving emails, making it not too often, because you don't want them to be like, oh my God, I've seen this like 4 times now.
Yeah.
Obviously, you remove people who have given, but making sure that there is that moment. We did also then sort of trial sending it again to people who have given with less of a hard ask, but being like, we are still fundraising for this. Thank you for giving, but if you would like to, or you'd like to share with people who might also share your interest, trying to lean into that side. So yeah, try not to make it too often, depending on the length of the appeal and what the ask is. But yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So we've just got a couple more questions. Would you suggest having a thorough debrief after a fundraising campaign and reviewing the responses from social posts and donors to see how that we can improve this?
Yes, definitely, because otherwise you've then, all the hard work you've done, you won't understand what it has done. So trying to see, sort of the click through from, if you do have a social media post, if someone does click through and end up, donating, how often people are doing that. Then also as well, if you're doing paid social, seeing the return on your investment, because paid social can be quite expensive as well, and you want to be able to actually see if you're getting that back, or if it's more about just seeing how many people have actually seen you, and then you're sort of getting that brand recognition because it is getting into people's vision, but it isn't, you aren't getting any income yet. So you're sort of making an investment for the future. But definitely having that moment, speaking with marketing about how they felt, the posts were looking, and the sort of comments they were getting back, and sort of looking at the good and the bad, and seeing if people found that interesting. We had an interesting thing where people were talking, so we're trialing a new ask in our checkout. And so there was an option for like a kilo of snow and a balaclava. And someone posted, they were like, oh, it feels very like RSPCA, like give £10 to save, this dog and things like that. But then it was very interesting seeing comments where people were like, but it's nice to know that, I can only give £10, but that can be enough to do this. And so getting that feedback, then it was like, oh, actually, yes, that does make sense. And maybe we could look at doing more things like that, because people then feel, oh, it's only £10, like it's not going to mean anything to them. But, any gift of any size is important. And I think making sure that people feel that even in, a big organization, their gift is valued. I think obviously that comes with thanking and everything, but having that moment and being able to see straight away responses from people, like being like, okay, actually, yeah, this does make sense to people. Obviously some people were like, oh, but yeah.
I think we go back to some of that brand recognition again, every little helps.
Exactly. Oh,
and that's not just true of supermarkets.
Yeah.
So we have one final question. Do you have any top tips for utilizing social media to encourage donation?
I would say trying to, with the different types of social media, trying to lean into what they bring forward. So like with Instagram, you want something short, something snappy, because people are scrolling. Facebook, you can sort of delve into a longer ask if you have a longer like fundraising video or something like that. And so you can sort of take the time and know that people will sort of pause a bit longer. Trying to, use more, I don't want to say flashy content, that doesn't really, but yeah, trying to tailor for the different social media, the different types of social media, and sort of, are you getting a lot more likes on Instagram than comments? So then you want it to just be something quick, something that someone just sees and they're like, oh, what is that? Or is it you're getting comments, so then you want to be able to like put more information in the comments that they can see, oh, okay, if I click on here, I can see further what they're doing. So yeah, trying to sort of lean into that way. I'm interested to think about how people will use TikTok for fundraising. I think that's going to be interesting.
But yeah, I think that's yet to be seen. Apart my experience, I'm a bit baffled by TikTok. I think great for awareness at the moment.
Yeah.
That practical fundraising aspect of it, I've yet to see. But that doesn't mean it's not there. Now, we have had one final question in, and I think we can just squeeze it in. And this one comes from Frankie. How do you properly use personalized content when addressing your donors? What is right? What is too much?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, yeah, I think it depends on, I guess, the ask. If you are sort of trying to hit a higher target, I think people do like to be recognized that maybe they have given a big gift before. And so be like, thank you so much for your previous gift of X amount. And you've come this often, and we can see that you're already coming to this show. Because those are the emails that you do get. Those are the type of people who get a lot of asks, and it being seen that you actually know about the history with them. You know that they're still, engaged with you, and that they still want to come see something. Those are the ones where I actually get responses where people are like, oh, thank you so much. Yes, I would like to call you to give this. And yeah, we can't wait to see X, because they feel like, you actually do. But then obviously if it's a short, snappier email, I think still being able to recognize that people have given, maybe even if it's for a different appeal, or if they have given a while ago, trying to get that test that line between like, oh, you gave to us 5 years ago, that's a while, come give us, like, trying to test that. But yeah, I think you can never, until you start telling them information they already know. I think it's sometimes nice to be like, you, in the past year, you've given us X amount. That is amazing. And we just want to thank you. Things like that when you can thank them by using the information that you do know, I think that is really nice. And then people might be like, oh, it was £900, let me top it up to 1,000, because it's a round number. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Amma. Thank you very much there, Amma. I'd like to thank everyone for coming this afternoon. I hope you've all learned something that you can take back to your organizations. I certainly have. We have one more day of Digital Transformation Week still to come. Tomorrow we'll be focusing on small charities. For all of you celebrating St. Patrick's Day, Sláinte, and take care, everyone. Goodbye.